So we just got our Fox back from the first 24 hours of Lemons race we were doing. We have some things to fix. We got to get the car cleaned up. We have to put the left front wheel on for real because it's only kind of on right now. We got to put a transmission in the car, I think. We need to look over the linkage and figure out why it jumps out of fourth gear. Check brake pads, change the oil.
We don't have any brakes.
Oh yeah, the brakes are gone too, which is, that's going to be an issue.
Concerning.
Other than that, I mean, clean it up, get it ready for the next event, and go back racing again.
We should probably put the car in the air and look at the trans linkage next.
Yeah, we got to figure out if it's a linkage issue or something internal in the transmission.
Because we have one sitting over there.
Yeah, we bought a spare transmission. You know, we were worried about this the entire race, and we found a spare on eBay in Washington of all places. So we have one sitting, and I'd hate to have to change it to the paddock instead of here on the lift.
Yeah, we don't want Tom to crash again.
Let's put it up. So the first thing you check after a race is always tire wear. In this case, we're going to look at our left front tire because this is the tire that Barber Motorsports Park is roughest on. I got a little tread depth gauge here. You can pick these up for a few bucks on Amazon. And well, you can look at a tire and get a feel for whether or not it's almost done. This lets you actually do the math and figure out how many hours you can get out of a set of tires. So I'll go ahead and get a tread depth measurement here. And we've got 630 seconds, brand new. These Tire Streets tires are at about 730 seconds on the shoulder. So that's a 30-second of wear, which is nothing for an endurance race. And then in the middle, I'll get a measurement. And we are at 830 seconds, brand new. It's at about 9 in the middle. So we have pretty even wear across the face of the tire. We barely used any. At this rate, we could get something like 4 more full 24-hour races out of these tires before we have to change them. And in the back, we measured and we can't actually detect any wear. So rotate the tires, we're good to go forever, basically. Okay, here is the lower part of our shift linkage here, and while it's really close to the exhaust pipe, when we're over in fourth gear, it actually sits right about here, and it's not hitting the pipe. So unfortunately, we think that our issue with the car jumping out of fourth gear is internal in the transmission and not a linkage issue. Just to be safe, when we put the new transmission in, we're gonna put a dent in the pipe right here just to make sure it doesn't hit.
So, we've had a question about our rear brakes because when we're on the track, you tap the brakes and the fronts lock up and the rears never did anything. So we went ahead and pulled the drums, which are actually held on by the wheel bearings on this. Got to looking at them, they're dry. There's plenty of pad left on the shoes. So we're gonna go ahead and stick it back together with some new bearings, new grease, and then I'm going to adjust the brakes and we're gonna see if that actually gets us any rear brake on the track. We're not gonna be reusing our inner seals, we are gonna install new ones. However, if you need to get the inner seals out without damaging them, the easiest thing to do is take the nut, screw it back in place, just a couple threads, grab the drum, pull it towards you, pulls the seal and the bearing and some grass out without actually damaging them, so you can reinstall them if you need to reinstall the seals.
We're just packing our new wheel bearings here, new rear wheel bearings. We haven't gotten the front yet. And gonna get these in the old brake drums, put everything back together. We're not gonna change pads, we're not gonna turn the drums. Everything looks okay, we're just putting fresh bearings in just to be safe.
So I've got these wheel bearings installed, preloaded. I got the cotter pins in. The cotter pins are there to keep the nuts from backing off. Something like endurance race that you spend all day racing. You don't want the nuts to back off, so Volkswagen has been kind enough to put these cotter pins in the rears for us. Now, if we move along to the front of the car, you can see that Volkswagen has been kind enough to...
So it's okay. The wheel could never fall off this car. They're just like on for the duration there. Perfect system design, everything. Yeah, the left front definitely couldn't fall off this car. Never.
Don't ask Miles either.
Fox parts are a little hard to come by. Fortunately, we found a junkyard in Oregon that was actually parting one out. So that's why we have this lovely palette of Fox parts here. We're gonna get everything cleaned up, and some of it's gonna go on the spares package, some of it's gonna go right on the car, and we'll go racing. We tried pressure washing this transmission, but it didn't really work. So instead, we're using our smart washer here, which isn't really designed to fit an entire Fox transmission, but does somehow if you put it up right. And this has taken all the dirt and grime right off. This would work fine if we put it in the car dirty, but again, it's really hard to find leaks or cracks or anything like that in a race car when you put everything together filthy. So we're gonna at least try and keep it clean. Okay, we have our two Fox transmissions here. This is the one that just came out of the car, and if you notice, it actually looks a little bit different than this actual Fox transmission we're putting back in the car. That's because this is from a diesel Quantum. What's a diesel Quantum? It doesn't matter. It's another terrible, somewhat front-wheel drive Volkswagen product. What matters is that this is a 5-speed with an overdrive, and this is a 4-speed. This transmission is also stronger. It's got better gear ratios for racing, and they're unobtainium, which is why we had to settle for a normal Fox transmission. This has worse gear ratios and it's weaker. We're going to put it in the car anyway because it doesn't jump out of 4th gear, supposedly. Once we get the car back up and running, we're going to take this one apart and see if we can fix the internal issue and keep it as a spare. Well, we've got the transmission out of the Fox. We're going to go ahead and put a new rear main seal set in it. And we got an input shaft gasket for the new transmission too. But we also have a new clutch and flywheel. This is the old one. This clutch is totally fine, but we weren't really sure what it would look like after a race. And one of the perks of racing a Volkswagen Fox is some parts are absurdly cheap. So we scored this new clutch kit on closeout for 77 American dollars. This has everything we need, and we'll save our old stock clutch as a spare just in case. Just one of those things that's much easier to do while we already have the transmission out than to do in the middle of a paddock somewhere.
Tom just spent 2 hours cleaning this transmission. What was he really doing?
Oh, you touched the part I didn't clean. So we had to flip over our little, what is this, a shift linkage positioning rod, I'll call it, something like that, in order to fit our new transmission, which has a little bit of a shorter tail shaft than the old transmission. And unfortunately, doing that means that our wonderful exhaust pipe now wants to interfere with the linkage. So we're gonna have to figure something else out here. They used to do this in Stuttgart too for the linkages. If you look, you can actually see the design of the pipe. So I don't know if you can see in here, but there's it's called power waves in the metal, and you can even see the little
dimpling.
Some people would call them hammer marks. It's more like a golf ball to help aerodynamics and the flow of the exhaust as they go through the pipe. Yeah.
So when we flip upside down because of the wings, and the dimpling on the exhaust will actually take off, and we can skip the hard turns at least.
get ready for the nicest exhaust fitment this car has ever seen. Okay, we finished, 5 things off our list? Something like that. Mostly the transmission. We now have a beautiful Fox 4-speed instead of our diesel Quantum 5-speed. Bolted in, all good, full of fluid.
New clutch.
Yep, new clutch.
We checked over the rear brakes. Shoes were good, so we slapped some new bearings in there, preloaded them, put the wheels back on, good to go. Got a few more things we need to look at. Front brakes, front hubs. You know, we had that hub issue in Barber, so we're going to take care of that. We got some new uprights, some new parts for that.
Yep, we got to do some fuel pump wiring and plumbing a little bit, just neaten things up so they're more reliable. Car still needs an oil change, flush some fluids, but we're making progress. The transmission's done, and that's the important part.
Sounds good. Let's get to it.
Support brands that support Grassroots Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.